Good morning. My name is Edward Johnson. I'm here with Voter Organized to Educate, and I'm here with Mr. Paul Mayhold, and I'm also here with our elect William Morgan. So, to start off with, Mr. Morgan, tell our community who you are and why you're running for City Council District E, and what values and lived experience would you bring to the job?
Uh, Thank you. First, I want to say thank you guys for having me. I appreciate the work you do in our community, and I appreciate this opportunity. My name is Willie Morgan, and of course, you guys know I'm running for City Council District E. Uh, I am a child of the Lower Nine. I was born and raised here in New Orleans. I have been strengthened by its struggles and inspired by its resilience. I believe that our community has the ability and the promise to be one of the greatest communities in our country. I just think that we need the right leadership and the right people to come in and invest in our communities and help it live up to its promise. As someone who grew up in New Orleans in the Lower Nine, I remember going to the skating rink off La Manche and playing at St. Bernard Park and riding my bike on the levee. And happened to be inside before the street lights came on, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it never was a concern for our safety. It never was. Couldn't go outside because of danger, right? My entire family is from across the canal. You couldn't throw a rock without getting caught. And those were the good old times, right? When people had a sense of community and our neighborhoods felt like neighborhoods and they were thriving. And I want to get us back to that, get us back to that point. So that's why I have entered my hat in the race. I just felt compelled that I could no longer sit back and just express my anger and content via social media and to my friends and students and family members. I felt that it was time for me to get in the race, put my boots on, and fight for the change I want to see in our community.
Okay.
Mr. Morgan, how you doing this morning?
I'm all right, Mr. Mule.
Oh my, it's great. Let's talk about utility bills and resilience. With high bills and outages, what specific tools will you hold the whole Energy and Sewage and Water Board accountable for, like performance standards, penalties, rate cases, and conditions? And can you name one bill relief and the steps you'll deliver to District E?
Uh, that was a mouthful. I think everyone who lives in the city of New Orleans have experienced a utility bill that was astronomical and outrageous. I believe, I feel most of the tools needed are already there. I think it's time that the city council use the tools that are at their disposal to hold those entities accountable. So that means fighting against rate hikes. That means holding energy accountable. They already have the power to do that. Right? We're not asking to create new legislation. We're asking the city council to do what is already preordained to do, and that's regulate energy. That's to monitor the Sewage and Water Board. Right? So I feel like we just have to get in there and do what's right. I feel like for too often, the voters here in Orange Parish have been put second, and energy profits have been put first, and we have to reverse that trend. So when in office, I plan to fight, all right, to make sure that the citizens are getting the services that are promised to us, that we have paid for. Last year, energy had a record profit margin. But if you live in New Orleans, you wouldn't know that, because that money is not being poured back into the community. So often we hear about, they're strengthening this grid here, and they're doing a project over here in the East strengthening that grid, and then the next day we have rolling power outages. Half of Algiers is out without power. So I think it's time that City Council buckles down and hold energy accountable, and also work with Sewage and Water Board to get the fixes that needed done. I know a lot of people work for Sewage and Water Board, and a lot of the current tools and systems they're using are outdated. We are living in the 21st century. It's time that it's reflected at Sewage and Water Board that we're living in the 21st century.
Right, right. Oh, tell me something about the Green Street drainage.
So I believe that's in response to the new streets they're doing throughout the city where like they're taking half the street to do like a drainage, where water can kind of seep to keep flooding from homes. I think it's great. I think we need to be looking at real world solutions when it comes to flooding, right? We all know we live in New Orleans. We all know that we're below sea level. So we have to be proactive about what we're doing to keep our city safe. So I definitely think it's great. But I also want to, while we're doing that, let's be cautious that we are not creating problems when we are trying to fix problems. So some areas I've seen it, I think it works. Some areas I think it doesn't. So I think that it should be a case by case basis, right? And it should not only address the issue, but also not cause a new one.
Exactly. I like that. Thank you.
So neighbors are still faced with potholes, flooding, blight, illegal dumping, and mixed trash and slow recoveries, because people always have a tendency of leaving their trash in one area by the house, but they won't come pick it up if you don't put it outside. Sometimes people may not be able to do that, right? So how do you feel about that? The potholes, the flooding, the blight, the illegal dumping, the mixed trash, and the slow recovery.
I feel like as someone who lives in New Orleans, I've experienced all of those things you stated.
Right.
Where I live, I was blessed to be able to become a first time home buyer in November. I live on a corner lot, so my side gate is where I pull my trash out. I quickly realized that if I don't pull it toward the front, that they won't touch it. I was assuming that it's right here by the street on the side that I was good, right? That's not the case. I just think that we have to be more realistic about when we're doing trash pickup. I think that we have to work with those companies that's getting these contracts from the city of New Orleans to make sure they're actually servicing the city of New Orleans. When I first moved in, they had some boards in my yard. This is a really quick story. Some like 2x4s that was left in the yard, and I just picked them up. It was about four of them. I just picked them up, put them in the trash can, pulled the trash can out. Never thought about it. But after 2 missed trash collections, after I put the note in 411, the city app to try to get someone out because they missed it, to come and find out they refused to take it because they said I had construction material in the trash. It was only 4 2x4s that was left in the yard when I moved in. That's not construction material. So I think that they have some loopholes that they're using against us, and we have to fix that because no one should go 2 weeks without trash collection because they got 4 boards in the trash can. So I know if I experienced that, I know there's many other people out there who have experienced that. And to answer you about the blight, to me that just makes me reminisce about New Orleans East and all of the apartment complexes that have gone unattended to. Half of them are for sale right now because the owners have filed for bankruptcy. You can see it from the interstate. If you're driving through New Orleans East, you can see it from the interstate that the properties are not being tended to. I lived in Chanel Creek and Hidden Lake Apartments, so I know firsthand what's not being done in those units. And we have to address that, and that's creating blight not only for the people who live there, who have to live there because they don't have the resources to afford the $1,200 and $1,400 units downtown, but it's also for the people in that neighborhood, the homeowners in the neighborhood who have to coexist with those apartment complexes. So we have to address that, and we have to do something more to make sure our neighborhoods are not being left behind.
So will you create an equity and infrastructure fund with public dashboard and corridors, level schedules, and what's your 90-day plan to deliver vision fixes in hotspot areas?
So I think in recent times, a few good things have come out of this current administration, and that's one is the data tool that you can access via New Orleans, the city of New Orleans website. So I would just continue to build on it, right? I don't think we need to create a new wheel. I think we just need to improve the one we have. So they have started releasing certain data. I think we just need to expand that to encompass all of the things you just mentioned. I think that we will at some point have to put skin in the game. The city's gonna have to put skin in the game when it comes to New Orleans East and the Lower Nine. So the New Orleans Housing Trust Fund that have the 2% of the city budget is already going to. I think we might have to increase that. Right, might need to go from 2 to 4%, and use those funds to help those neighborhoods that need it the most. Unfortunately, I know that everyone in the city of New Orleans is celebrating the 20-year anniversary of Katrina, and I know that brings up a lot of emotions for a lot of people, depending on your experience during Hurricane Katrina. However, if you ride through the Lower Nine, if you ride through portions of New Orleans East, it does not look like Hurricane Katrina happened 20 years ago. It looked like it was a hurricane that happened 2 years ago.
Right.
And in some places, it happened this season. We have to do something different to improve that. And nothing in me believe that this is by mistake. I feel like this is by design. They have purposely left New Orleans East and Lower Nine to the back of the list, and I'm fighting to bring us to the front.
Oh, in the aftermath of all these jail breaks and situations dealing with jails, let's talk about jail oversight and phase 3 and the care. You've pushed for audits and transparency and questioned more construction. Why is this?
So that's not accurate, right? So I think maybe the question we're in, but I've not pushed I've never held public office. I do believe that it should be oversight, though. I believe that. I believe it should be oversight. I believe that any entity that taxpayers' funding go to should have oversight. Whether that's student water board, whether that's a jail, whether that's juvenile court, whether that's criminal district court, any place where tax dollars are spent should have oversight, right? Yes. Any job I go on that gives me a company card, they're gonna watch exactly what I do with that company card to make sure it's in guidelines with what the company policy is, and it should be the exact same with the city of New Orleans. Anyone that's spending taxpayer dollars should be accountable for where their money is going and what they're spending it on. So I do agree with that. It should be oversight. I don't know what other causes. I feel like it should be investigated. I feel like there are experts out here who have studied this and who have made this their life mission. I believe that we need to bring them in and let them investigate and figure out exactly what went wrong and how do we prevent that from going forward. Right? I do not believe right now, without knowing all the facts, that we should be playing the blame game just because it's election time. I feel like we should all be rooted in public safety, not just the safety of the people on this side, but the people on that side as well. Correct. Because at the end of the day, those are our family members. Right? I've had, unfortunately, my younger brother has been through the system, my father has been through the system, and I love them dearly, right? So I want to make sure they're safe in and out of jail, right? So I feel like we need to make sure that everyone is safe and that we are not just locking them away and throwing away the key. But I definitely believe it should be oversight. I definitely feel like it should be thorough and independent investigation to figure out what went wrong and who all had a part in it. And if no one, then we figure out what do we do to fix it and make sure that doesn't happen again. And if we find out it was someone, then they are held accountable.
Right. Would you tie Orleans Parish Sheriff Office funding to staffing, healthcare, benchmarks, or pause the expansion?
I'm sorry, I'm really trying to say, can you give me the question again? I just want to make
sure
I understand it.
It says, I'm saying, would you tie together the Orleans Parish Sheriff Office funding to the staffing and the healthcare and the benchmarks, or pause the expansion?
When we talk about the healthcare, we talking about healthcare for the employees or healthcare for the individuals being housed at?
I would think, since we're talking about the jail, it would be for the people that are held there first and foremost, because that has always been an issue with poor healthcare in the system.
Gotcha. So I worked at Orleans Parish Juvenile Court. I was a director of Mello. I also worked the ODAP program, and those are alternatives to detentions, right? So when youth would get detained, they would have a race score, and based off their score, if it met the mark, they would be assigned to one of the programs, which I was a director for, right? I said to say that oftentimes they try to tie our funding to the number of people in the program. I disagree with that because I may have one youth who may need a host of services to get him or her where they need to be. And I may have one youth who only need a mentor. He made one simple mistake. He need a mentor that'll get him back on track, back in school. He's back doing what's productive. Then may have a kid over here who come from a household where he's having to be the dad in the house. He's having to provide for his younger siblings. He's having to walk his siblings to the school bus in the morning. So that's why he's not going to school. That family in that situation will need way more services, right? So if you're tying my money to how many kids I got in the program, that means somebody's not going to get service.
Exactly.
Right? And I feel like that's the same way with the jail. It should not be tied to staffing. The funding should be tied to what the jail need to operate. And that's to operate with adequate staffing. That's to operate with everyone back there getting the health care that they need. Because again, just because someone is incarcerated does not mean they are less valuable or don't deserve the same rights that I have out here.
Exactly.
Because I truly believe that everyone that's in jail is not there justly. So we have to give them the funding to do what they need to do to make sure they are running a safe and equitable jail. And that's having the proper staffing, that's having proper health care, that's having the proper numbers, that we are not overcrowding certain units, that we are operating a system where everyone is given what they need.
And what would you do to assure the people who have addictions care while in custody and after release?
Okay. And before I answer the question, I do want to double back because I think I missed the portion. You did ask about what I would do about the expansion.
Right.
So I do want to ask that. I think I don't have all the facts in front of me, right? I feel like I would definitely need all the facts in front of me from both sides. But just knowing what I know now, if I had to answer that, I would say pause the expansion while we figure out what's the issue with the rest of the system.
Gotcha.
Because making it bigger is just going to make the problem bigger.
Exactly.
So I feel like we need to address what's going on, address those issues, and then let's come back to the expansion if needed. And I hope that we can put enough programs in place and work with enough people that we don't need the expansion, right? Because we cannot incarcerate our way out of crime and out of the issues going through the city.
And that's exactly what we're trying to do.
That's not going to happen.
Can't happen.
So, and back to this, can you give me the question again? I'm sorry.
What would you do to assure the people who have addictions help while incarcerated and once released?
So, I have a degree in addiction counseling from Southern University in New Orleans. I did my intern hours at Bridge House. So, and I worked with a lot of kids who had addiction. So this is something that's dear to me, right? I lost a friend to an overdose. So
sorry to hear that.
Thank you. So this is a topic that's really important to me and I really care about. Not just because I'm running, but I've seen firsthand with addiction the problems it can cause. So definitely, I feel like what I've learned from my service to the city of New Orleans and my time at the various entities I had the opportunity to work with is that it's some great organizations in the city of New Orleans doing some great work, right? There are people with boots on the ground doing the work. They just need more support.
Right.
They need more support. And oftentimes, what I've experienced is that organizations will get money because of their name, because they have a flashy gala, because they know the right people at the city council and at the mayor's office. But that doesn't mean they're the people who are doing the hard work. Right. We have to make sure the money is going to the people that are doing the work on the ground. I don't feel like we need to reinvent the wheel. I feel like we just need to make sure that the resources are going to those that are doing the work in our community. And I've seen those people. I've met them. I've been on the ground with them during my tenure at juvenile court. I've been side by side. So I know there are people out there doing the work. Right. So I would, if in office, if elected, I will make sure that the funding we have are going to organizations that have a proven record, that are showing they're doing the hard work so that they continue to help the people we need who are most vulnerable, right? So I feel like, again, I don't need like some big old fancy thing. I just feel like we have to make sure that people doing the work getting the money so that they can continue to help our people.
It's nice. It's nice. Thank you.
So let's talk about the anti-displacement, the stay-home NOLA. You propose a legacy homeowner tax stabilization, stabilization, mandatory and exclusionary, zoning, like example 20% of affordable tax, expanding community land trust, inherit property assistance. So name two of actions you'll file first. Um, how would you fund them, and the metric you'll use to prove they're keeping families in place.
Okay, that was a long question.
Okay, so let's just start with the what you propose as a legacy homeowner tax stabilization, the mandatory exclusionary zoning.
What do I propose?
Yeah, you propose a legacy.
So ask me if I propose one.
Yeah.
Do I support a legacy?
You
I'm sorry.
The question is, you have proposed a legacy homeowner tax stabilization, mandatory exclusionary zoning, and expanding community land trust, and inherited property assistance.
Okay, gotcha. Is this hypothetical?
Yes.
Okay. No, I'm saying because they say I proposed it and I haven't, but I do.
Whenever it's referring to that, it's referring to responses you gave to us on our candidacy survey.
Gotcha. Okay, that's why I'm like,
Yeah.
gotcha. Okay. Thank you for the clarification. So I know someone that I would say help with my rearing, right? And if someone is prominent in the lower nine, someone I say could, I respect as an aunt. Currently is having issues where developers are coming in, paying their taxes, and trying to take their home. And these are people who have lived there for generations.
Right.
And that's so disheartening. It's so disheartening that someone can build generational wealth for their family, but in a moment where they're having a hardship, and I think everyone knows we all are being forced to do more with less, that someone can come in and take their property from them. So I definitely believe we have to come up with a way that we are assisting people who need assistance, right? Our low income earners, our elderly, our disabled, so that we are protecting them and making sure that they don't experience this. Right. Because no one should work their whole life to buy their home, right, and build generational wealth for them and their family, and someone can come in and swoop in and take their property because they're behind on a bill.
Right.
So that's why I believe the inclusion zone come from, where we will protect those people, right? Where you'll be able to come in and file for exemption, where you can get assistance paying your property taxes, and if you can prove that right now funds are funding,
right,
we can help.
Right.
And we have organizations where we can partner with them, where we can partner with private or with nonprofits to link those people so that they can get the assistance they need, so that does not never happen in the city of New Orleans. Because as we know, we are losing thousands of citizens to our neighboring states. And we have to do something to change that. And that begins with making this city more affordable for people of low income.
Right.
We are essentially financially forcing out the people who make New Orleans, New Orleans. It will get to a point where we won't have second lines, because the people who put second lines on and people who attend second lines won't be able to afford it in the city. You've seen with the fight with the tax, with the insurance rule on second line clubs.
Mm-hmm.
So you've seen it, so right? We've seen it in our face. It's happening. So definitely we have to create some type of system where we can help those who most affected. So I do agree. I do believe that, and as a city council member, I would fight for that.
So name the top two actions you'll file first, how you'll fund them, and the metrics you'll use to prove they're keeping families in place.
So one for homeowners is working to expand the homeowner tax exempt. for our elderly, like I said, for our low income, for our disabled, for our veterans, expanding that tax credit. I think that while we do have to do more with less here in the city of New Orleans, I do think a large of our money is going places where it shouldn't be going. So for me, I would divert funding from other areas, so that we can fund those initiatives and keeping track. I feel like just as my time at juvenile court, every cycle I had to give a report.
Right.
I had to turn in a report where this money went. They came in, they said, "Oh, y'all bought a printer, y'all bought an EJAC 20. Where is that? I need to see it." And they checked it off. If it wasn't there, somebody was in trouble, right? And that was every year that they came behind me and made sure that everything we say we spent the money on was spent on. The exact same thing should be happening with that. So I would definitely put a accountability in place so that we are doing annually audits on every program that we are funding, because we have to know where our money is going and that our money is being used for the right thing.
That's real good, real good. What's about reentry and second chances? Would you back the city, or do you back the city-sponsored expunging clinics?
As I stated in our conversation, my younger brother was formerly incarcerated. Now he's home, and we are trying to help him rebuild his life. My father did time. He's home, and he's living with my older sister and thriving. But I will say that without the family support that they have received, it may have been quite a different story for them. But they did have family, we were able to support them, right? Not everyone has that same support system.
Right.
So I wholeheartedly support reentry programs as well as expungement clinics. There's a lot of people who are being denied jobs based off of something that happened years ago. For example, I currently work at a high school, and we contract our janitorial services out to an agency. And one of the gentlemen who they hired to do the janitorial services, awesome guy, right? All the kids love him, right? He's one of those older guys that everyone call pops. He's one of the people that if kids are fighting, they'll listen to him. He was like, "Come on, bro, let me talk." He's that kind of figure, right? Unfortunately, they let him go because they discovered that 30 years ago he committed a crime, paid his due to society, and now is out rebuilding his life, right? Everyone was heartbroken when they found out that he had been let go, but that's the reality for a lot of people, and we have to do something to help those people, because he is now, right, that's something a crime that he committed 30 years ago. He's paid his due. The system say he had to give him 25 years, he gave it. And now he's out rebuilding his life, trying to be a productive citizen, but we are making it harder for him to do that. So we are essentially pushing him back to a life of crime, because we won't let him do it fairly and equally. We have to change that. We have to give people opportunity to get out and come out and rebuild themselves and create the kind of lives that they want to live. But we making it harder for them because of a crime they committed 30 years ago. It's not going to happen. So I definitely wholeheartedly support that. I definitely support reentry. Like I say, I have family members who have experienced this. I'm working with my younger brother now, trying to get him set up. We just able to get him an apartment. Hopefully we'll find him a job real soon. So that he's taking his younger daughter to school. She loves that. She goes to Phyllis Wheatley, so she be bucked up. He picks up and brings her to school in the morning. But I think about where would he be if he didn't have us? If I wasn't there to support him, if my mom wasn't there to support him, where would he be? And the sad truth is that he may be right back doing illegal activity. But we have to give our people a chance to come home and do the right thing.
Right. You talked about how you feel about it, and that's a good thing. We all have feelings for different things. But if you are elected, what targets would you set for the city departments and the vendors? And we're talking about banning the box that we know is really not happening. But what would you put in place for retention for returning residents?
Right. I definitely would follow suit with President Obama with removing that for federal employment. I think that was something great that our President Obama did before he left office. I think that needs to trickle down from the federal government to local,
Right.
to state to local economies, right? Because a mistake someone made does not mean they're unqualified
Right.
for a job. Now, I feel like when someone, if you commit a crime, you do your time. Once you come home, you should be able to get returned back to society. And not continue to be punished over and over for
Exactly.
something you already was punished for. So definitely, I feel that we need to make sure that contractors that is getting tax dollars, that they are fairly and equitably hiring people, and that people are not being discriminated against because of a prior arrest.
Right.
So I think that's something that the city council and the mayor's office as a team can work on. So I definitely will be fighting to hold those contractors to that standard. That if we say it can't just be a campaign promise. It can't just be what I'm saying now because I'm elected. It has to be something that I fight for throughout my term, and that I believe it starts with holding contractors, because the city of New Orleans give millions of dollars of contracts out annually.
Right.
So that's a lot of jobs that we have to make sure that people who are formerly incarcerated have a fair opportunity to obtain. And then if we find that that's not happening, then they're not eligible for future contracts. We can't continue to reward people who are not doing what they say they're going to do. And the same thing with city jobs. That we, as a city, that's something we directly control, right? That's not something we have to go out and look for, right? We don't have to call in independent auditors, because this is city jobs. We can make sure that we are giving everyone a fair shot when they're applying for city jobs. And that's, again, making sure that we are doing trainings. I feel like training is important, that directors and supervisors are getting those annual trainings. A lot of us, I work in education, we have to do annual trainings every year. I feel like that should be one we include. So I would love to work with Voters Organized to create a training that helps people identify their bias and make sure that that's not prevalent in hiring practices throughout the city.
Nice.
Okay, so community safety and beyond policing. So you've called for a community safety fund, a form of partnership with interrupter groups like YEP, VELA, and Cure Violence, and an Office of Neighborhood-Based Public Safety outside of New Orleans. What specific programs will you scale in District E, and what outcomes, you will publish quarterly?
So, I'm sorry.
Like shooting reduction, meditation, youth retention, stuff like that.
Yeah. So, I think I talked kind of extensively about my past and jobs I've held. I know firsthand that when you give programming to youth and to people who are in need, it works.
Mm-hmm.
If you give a person an opportunity to work with the people that give them the assistance they need to get them where they want to go, it works. I've seen it, I've done it, I've lived it. So I definitely would scale those programs. One thing about a question I was asked the other day was, what's one thing about this current administration that I like that I would keep? And my response was that when I was doing the work in the community during my time at juvenile court, what we noticed was a lot of the programs that was offered for our youth and families was housed downtown, mid-city, St. Bernard area. So that means everyone who lived in New Orleans East and the Lower Nine had to travel to those programs. If you don't know, let me be the first to tell you, transportation is an issue for majority of the people who live in New Orleans, right? So if you tell a family you want to work these services, but then you put the services outside of their neighborhood, how are they going to get to the services?
Right.
How is a mother of 4 with a full-time job who is responsible for her children going to get her kids from school, off the school bus, go to work, and have time to catch the RTA uptown to go to programming? That's not, you're setting up for failure.
Exactly.
But what I have noticed is now our current city council member has been working hard to get those programs in the East, in the Lower Nine. So the programs are where the people are housed, so that it's not a barrier to get to them. So I would double down on that. We have to get those programs in the neighborhoods where they're needed, because you can't expect a family to travel that far to get the program, all while taking care of the kids, making sure they do their homework, making sure they eat, making sure they're in bed at night, making sure they're not running the streets. You can't stack the deck against her and then say she a bad mom. She done all she could do.
That's all she can do.
So we have to put those programs in the community where people need them. So I definitely would double down on those different. I work with a lot of great organizations. Like I say, Yep for Ones, the Mellow Program at Juvenile Court, so many others. I just feel like we need to support them. So I definitely double down on those programs, help them expand their services so that they can work with more kids and more families. And in turn, you will see a crime reduction. If we are supporting our families, if we're supporting our youth, if we're getting them re-engaged in school, right, you will see a reduction in crime, right? You don't need the police to fix all the problems, right? We do need police. Police are important. They do a vital job in the city of New Orleans, but we have to take some stuff off their backs.
Right.
And by doing that, that means is we investing in programming that works. And just like I said, audits. Everyone who's run a nonprofit in the city of New Orleans know what an audit is, because you have to do it every year for the federal government. If you want federal grants, you got to do audits. We should be requiring everyone who gets taxpayer dollars to do audits. And when in office, anyone that wants money from the city council will have to go through annual audits, because there should be nothing to hide. If you're actually doing the work and spending the money how it should be spent, it won't be a problem to sit through an audit.
Transparency. That's what we need more of.
Definitely.
Let's talk about surveillance tech and civil liberties. Where do you stand on facial recognition, like LPSs and predictive policing and private camera networks?
Every study you ever gonna read will say that those systems unfairly target minorities. For some reason, they all feel we all look alike. So misidentification is prominent in all of those programming, and that's why no major city in the United States have approved them for use. New Orleans should be the same. Those programs should not be used on their citizens. It should not be used against the people who make New Orleans what New Orleans is, because all the studies show, and it's not my word, you don't have to take my word for it. You just Google it, you read any statistical facts that was done, read the facts, read the studies. Even the FBI themselves have said that those programming, while in some cases they may have been effective, but majority of the time they misidentify people of color. And last I checked, New Orleans was predominantly black. So that means it's a lot of me, you, and you that will be affected by those programs. So I'm completely against it. I hope that the city council do the right thing and ban those programs in the city of New Orleans.
So it sounds like you would support a pause on that expansion until the council do approve of public reporting, independent bias, accuracy, audits, and strict warrant retentions and rules.
I definitely oppose, and I think at the end of the day, the city council just need to ban it. So I hope that when the criminal justice committee comes back into session, that they do the right thing and they ban those programs in the city of New Orleans, and they should not be operational while that's happening. Just the same as the traffic cameras in school zones have been paused while that litigation is resolved. It should be the same principle. This should be paused while that is being taken care of, right. and it should not be put into effect until the city council has come to a forum and have ruled on it.
All right. So what would you put in place to be like a protective oversight over that?
If the city council don't ban it,
right.
So in the office, I would my first mission would be to reconvene the criminal justice committee of the city council to bring it up for another vote, because I feel the current city council, depending on the election on October 11th, if you may have a completely new city council, right? It may be the makeup may drastically change. So if it's not banned, I would want to commission another meeting so that we can readdress it. right? So that will be my first thing if it's not banned. And if it and while we are fighting to ban it, I definitely will want strict, rigorous quality reviews to make sure that it's not being unfairly used against minorities, and that it's being used how it was intended. Because so often we find that when you pull back the curtain, they only using it in the 8 Ward and 9 Ward, but they ain't got nothing in Lakeview.
Right.
And I want to make sure that's not happening. So I would definitely want a quarterly reviews. I feel like when something that serious, we can't wait annually.
Right.
Because annually, so many people could have been
everybody
harmed by
affected.
it.
Right.
You know,
Right.
no, it needs to be quarterly reviews so that we make sure that the powers that are using it are not using it against us. And then I feel like another fear for mine would be that if we do let it in, right, with our current administration in DC, what's stopping them from coming in and taking over as they did in DC, federalizing the police department in DC? What's stopping them from coming to New Orleans and doing it and then using it against us? So I feel like you open the door for so many possibilities.
Right, exactly.
I feel more comfortable with just banning it all together.
Right.
I like your foresight. Thank you.
No problem.
So, youth opportunities. What do you pledge for the summer of 2026? You've committed to a Baltimore-style summer. You know, late night library nights and hours, free pools, neighborhood camps, jobs, and peer mentoring stipends. So, what 3 deliverable will you in District E see by next summer, and how will you recruit and pay local groups to run them?
Awesome. So youth is super important to me. I think kind of got the gist of it. Majority of all my professional career, I've worked with the youth here in New Orleans, both at juvenile court, with the state of Louisiana. I was the transition coordinator for the state of Louisiana, so I had every high school in Jefferson Parish before I moved over to juvenile court, where I ran the Mellow program, and now as the vice principal here at the high school I work at. So youth is super important to me. They are our future. I have a host of nieces and nephews that live in this city, that attend public school in this city. My oldest niece just graduated from McMain. She's now going to Southern University at New Orleans.
What's up?
Yeah, I have 2 older nephews who graduated there. One is in the Marines, one is in the Air Force. So I've been fighting, for the youth forever. So this is super important to me. This is something I truly care about, which I care about everything, but this is dear to my heart. Yes, over the summer I went to an event at the Sanchez Center, and apparently 2 kids had maybe like a verbal altercation and were put out. And in response, they closed the pool for the day. And as I sat there waiting for the event I was going to start, I saw 2 families walk up, 2 moms with their little kids walk up to the pool, were turned around. I saw a group of kids, probably all cousins and friends from the neighborhood, walk up, were turned around. And it made me want to go figure out why they been turned around. Like, is a pool broke? So I started asking questions like, hey, what's going on? And that's when they told me about, they had an altercation, so they put everybody out. This is what the kids are telling me. I'm like, why they turning? She's like, them 2 got into it and they put everybody out. You know how the kids talk. They're like, they got into it, they put everybody out. Yeah, that's not right. They shouldn't do that. We ain't do nothing. That's what the little kids tell me. I say, well, if you didn't do nothing, you're right. You should have been put out.
Right.
So now the kids telling me, now I'm ready to go in there and fight to get the pool open, because them kids upset out there,
Right.
So I say that to say we have to do better, because every kid they turned around, what they gonna do now?
Right.
And then we complain about them doing mischief and getting into bad stuff, but they could have been at that pool swimming, but they were turned around because of the altercation they had nothing to do with.
Right.
We got to do better. So we have to extend our services. We have to work with NORD to extend the services they offer, right? We have to work with NORD to make sure the facilities they run are being upkept, because the AC at the Sanchez Center has been broken for quite some time. I don't know if they're waiting for parts or a new unit, but they've been broke for a long time now. So we have to work with NORD to make sure the facilities are being kept up, and that we are offering services to our kids, and our kids have a fun, safe place to go. Anyone with kids in New Orleans East or Lower 9, one reality face all of us. If you want to take your kids to do anything fun, you got to go to Slidell or Metairie. You want to go to the jumping place the kids love, Air Zone. You want to go to Air Zone, you got to go to Metairie. You want to go to the skate ring, you got to go to Metairie. You want to go to movie theaters, you got to go to Metairie. You want to go bowling, you got to go to Metairie. We have to do something different. We have to put stuff in our communities that our kids can do for fun, right? We all want them to be brilliant and go to school and get educated, but we have to offer balance, right? We can't tell them we want you to do all these right things, but then when you leave here, we don't got nothing for you to do. So go figure it out in the neighborhood. Well, then when they figure it out, they're going to be throwing rocks, and then somebody car window broken. Now it's vandalism. Right. They're going to go find an abandoned house that they can hang in, and then turn that into a club, you know, because they need you got to give them something to do. And if we don't give them something to do, they're going to find something. So I'm definitely going to double down on that. We have to put something in our communities for our kids, whether it be a clubhouse or a skate rink, something that they can do that they can go and have fun, right? I don't know if you guys ever been to the Broadside on Broad, the little outdoor theater. Yeah. They host events, right? Mm-hmm. That's a great facility. Right. I propose that we have a facility similar to that in New Orleans East, so that when our teenagers want to have parties, we give them a space to have parties, so that way that they don't have to go and rent an Airbnb, and then one of our kids are getting killed, because we give them a space to come to, and we can make sure that it's safe.
A safe space. Right?
They can have a party here. You guys can rent it out. Have your birthday party here. Have your graduation party here. And we can provide security. We can make sure they're safe, because so often we hear that our kids are being killed because they was at an Airbnb. They had an unofficial party over here.
Unsupervised.
They don't have nothing else to do. Mm-hmm. So I propose we have something like that in New Orleans East. And we definitely, during the summer, we have to extend our hours at our rec centers, right? It's unrealistic to think that all the kids are going to be there at 5. It's the summertime. My little nephews are 12 and 13. They've been there playing that PlayStation. I wake up at midnight. They still playing. I be saying, boys, y'all don't go down and go to bed. Y'all should be tired. Yeah. They still playing. They fussing with each other. They in the same room, fussing with each other, playing each other on the PlayStation. Yeah. It's unrealistic. So we have to extend the rec hours. I definitely double down on that. I definitely will want to fight to provide more funding to programming that offer programs in the summer. When I ran Mellow, we had something we call peer mentors. Right. So that kids who finished the program, they came back and acted as mentors to the new kids, and they received a stipend. It was only like $50 a week, but you're amazed how excited they was for that, and how excited they was to act as peer mentors and give the other kids guidance.
That make them want to do better.
Right, it make them do better. So that's definitely something that I would want to double down on and help give Mellow more funding to do that more throughout the summer. And I feel like the funding is there for those programming. But again, like I stated earlier, a lot of programs are getting funding but not doing the work. We got to change that. We have to give the funding to programs that are doing the hard work.
We have to definitely change it.
And I'm sorry, I know my response was long, but
but what's needed is, because I was thinking about a lot of the things you were saying, and it's very important that kids have something to do, and then people carry that through, because Nord has been suffering from the lack of giving the kids what they need.
Yes.
Let's talk about a little bit about home rule and sanctuary. The state keeps pushing resumption in ICE cooperation mandates. How will you defend New Orleans home rule?
So, I think first I want to say is I'm not opposed to ICE doing its job. All right, that's what they exist for. We have laws when entering the country. I'm not opposed to it. Both President Obama and President Biden deported millions of people back to their home country. But just because we're deporting someone does not mean we have to do it inhumane. We do not have to be cruel. I feel like you are how you treat the weakest. Mm-hmm. And if we are a nation of hope and of prosperity, if that's how we're going to treat people who are coming here for safety in some cases, then what does that say about us? So I'm not opposed to people being deported. I'm opposed to kids being stripped from their mom and being held in cells, not knowing where their kids are while they're waiting deportation. I'm opposed to people being held in alligator Alcatraz and their lawyers are being barred from entering and Congress members are being barred from entering, because this is not, we are a country of laws and rules. And if they get to break the rules when they see fit, what happens when they come for us?
Right.
What happens when they start attacking us? That means they get to throw the rule book out the door again.
Right.
So I feel like you have to fight this fight because tomorrow fight may be us.
Exactly.
And like the saying go, they came for the Jews, I said nothing. They came for the Christians, I said nothing. They came for the blacks, I said nothing. When they came for me, it was nobody else there to say nothing because they had got everybody. Mm-hmm. We have to fight because at some point it's gonna be us they come from. Because we all realize that the powers that be, anybody that does not look like them is on a hit list. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, we don't look like them. We don't look like nobody in the White House right now. We on the hit list. So after they done this white fight and they see that they was able to do it and do it inhumane and send people to countries they never seen before, and in some cases sending people to the Middle East that came from Mexico. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Come on. Inhumane. So definitely I'm opposed to. I'm opposed to them doing inhumane, and what they're trying to do is they're trying to force NOPD to help them.
Right.
So I'm opposed to it. I think that we have to fight as a city, as a community. We have to fight for it. I had a student. I don't want to say his name, but I had a student, a bright kid, bilingual. Of course, he's not. He wasn't born here, but he's been here since he was like 2 years old. So he don't know anything else but America.
Right.
And he was the kid that, when you want to tell one of our English language learners or something, and you can't get to the translator, you make him tell it.
Right.
Like tell him I say get off that. He'll tell it for you.
Yeah.
He was a great kid. I mean, like so respectful, well mannered, super smart. His family relocated back to California for work. And I keep up with him. I check on him. I say, how you doing? I like, you better invite me to your graduation because I won't come. And one day he hit me up and I was like, how you been? Because he had, a week before he had hit me up, he had got a new girlfriend. Mm-hmm. And he was asking me like, what I can get her for her birthday? And I was like, well, get her some perfume. I'm trying to coach him some gift to get her. And then I hit him up again. I'm like, hey, what you got for her birthday? What you end up getting? And then he tells me that he was going through a check permit. And he was terrified. And that he called his mom going through the check permit, the ICE check permit, and they was praying for him because they were scared they would never see him again. Because a lot of people have been taken and they don't know where they've been taken to. They can't find them. They don't know. Like, they have no idea where their loved ones are. And that's just not right? I feel like you want to follow law, but come on, you're going to deport somebody, you should allow them to call their family and say, hey, I've been deported, I'm in this, I'm here, I'm being held at this center, they deport me to Mexico or so with Venezuela or whatever. Right. But the fact that family members are just disappearing. We don't know if they dead, we don't know if they're in custody, you don't know if they're under the bridge, you just don't know because they're just disappearing. Right. And that's inhumane, and we gotta fight against that. We have to fight against it. I think it's our obligation to do so.
Well, I said it before, I'm gonna say it again. I really like your foresight. I really do. I appreciate you being here today.
Thank you. I appreciate this opportunity.
So let's talk about the mental health and crisis response. So you support non-policy crisis teams, mobile units, and crisis stabilization and drop-in hubs. What's your dispatch integration? Plan with 911 and 311, and which grassroots providers will you fund first to make and help not handcuff real in the east and in the lower nine?
Okay, so definitely mental health is real. I do think that we are going in the right direction where we are kind of starting to have the conversation where it's not stigmatized. Because oftentimes people don't seek help because they don't how people would think about them or how we treat them, right? So I do think we're heading in the right direction where mental health is starting to be treated as the medical condition it is. So I am happy for that. I do think that we have to train our officers to be able to identify when someone is having a mental health crisis versus them just breaking the law. I think that I did complete the Citizens Academy with NOPD. I think they did a great job, and it's evident that NOPD has started to do the hard work of training their officers to identify that. I think we just need to support them and make sure that that training is offered to everyone, and not just the people who are on the crisis unit. I think all officers should go through some type of basic training to be able to identify that. And then I think they need to put more resources into the crisis unit so that when they're called, there's adequate response. Because if anyone who's seen someone going through some type of episode, it can escalate quickly if the right people are not there to respond. And again, like I said, I think it's great organizations out here doing the work. I think if we can help them, because a lot of times the organizations who do a lot of the great work, they so busy doing the work that they don't hear about when these grant opportunities are open, or you find out and you didn't miss the opportunity to submit a grant for it, because I know it happened to me. Like, I'm like in the trenches, going to find these kids here and there, and then somebody tell me, oh, they had a grant open with the city that you could have got this. I'm like, where's that? And then I see it's closed. I missed it. Like, man, I could have used that funding to, do more work. So I think that creating a system to where we make sure the people, I would want to do a registry. So anyone that has a program in the city, tell us what you're doing. Let's create a registry, right? Let's build a sublink from the city website where you can submit your information, tell us what you're doing, what's the program offer, how did you work, and then let's create a running list so that when those funding opportunities open, we can send out a blast. We can send it to you. Hey, we open funding opportunities open, and not just from the city. Right. We can put when other people funding opportunities, when United Way funding has opened,
that would be helpful.
When the Foundation of Louisiana funding opportunities have opened, we can send it out to a blast. And then, hey, you may have never written a grant. You're doing awesome work. You're helping a lot of people, but you don't really know how to write a grant. That's fine. Come to our office. We're going to help you, put you with the person who can help you write that grant to get that funding. Because a lot of times people don't get the funding not because they're not doing work, but because they don't know how to write a grant. Right. And as someone who's written several of them, it's tedious. And there's a lot of boxes you got to keep on typing in. So some people may need training on how to write grants, or I can partner with you with an agency that helps people write grants. I know United Way does a training. I've been to it. I think it was like 5 of us in the room. But I don't think that's because no one wants to attend. I think they just didn't know about it. So I would definitely make sure that the right people are getting that information. So I definitely want to create that running list of all those organizations and make sure we stay in contact with them. And also let's do like an annual summit. Well, we invite all those people in. We invite NOPD in. We invite EMS in. All the stakeholders. So we do a summit. And we could talk about, hey, what are you guys doing? What do you think the most help is needed? Because oftentimes we create rules and policies without talking to the people who are doing the work. Let's change that. Let's get the information from people who are actually doing the hard work. And then let's create the policy and the changes and decide where the funding should go after we had the opportunity to talk to everybody.
Exactly.
Yeah, I have a question. My name Peck. What you'll tell a voter, this is a two-part thing. What you'll tell a voter who say that you're inexperienced?
What I would tell a voter is, one, I'm educated right here in the city of New Orleans. I graduated from Illinois McMain Secondary Senior High School. I went on to Northwestern State University, where I obtained my bachelor's degree before coming back home and getting my master's from Southern University at New Orleans. So I'm no stranger to the classroom and learning. I have had the amazing career where I have been a director at juvenile court. Again, I was the liaison for all of Jefferson Parish. I had every high school in JP. I launched a nonprofit called the Youth Initiative, where I secured funding for the last 4 years, and is on track to have helped over 500 youth in the city of New Orleans. And now I'm currently a vice principal at a local high school, and I do that simultaneously. So I am in the ground. I am on the ground daily. I'm working with the most vulnerable in our community. I continue to fight for people who need help. So my experience is rooted in community. My experience is rooted in the classroom, and I'm educated by the citizens right here in New Orleans, right? So for too often, I think as voters, as a community, we have elected people who have came in and said all the right things, and they were polished. They were polished politicians, right? They they beautiful speakers, and they look good in the suit, but they got in office, and we got nowhere.
Right.
New Orleans East in the lower 9, Katrina happened 20 years ago, but I want you to ride through the lower 9. I want you to ride through New Orleans East, and you're still going to see remnants of Hurricane Katrina that you will not see in any other part of the city. That's not done by intention. That's not done by mistake. That's done intentionally, and that has been done by politicians who have been in office for years, who've had years of experience in the legislature, who have had years of experience sitting in public office, who have years of being reelected. And where has that gotten us? I think now it's time. We're at a crossroad, and now is the time to support someone that comes from the community, that is fighting for the community, and that believes what the community can be. And I believe I'm that candidate.
Okay.
The other part is, it's something that you touched on a little bit anyway. The small businesses, you know, the community people that have small businesses that's struggling real hard. What you could possibly say or do to help them if elected to
I believe, thank you, and this is something that's super important to me as someone who was a small business owner. I know how hard it is. I know when you're at the end of the month and you got to pay the rent, you got to pay the taxes, you got to pay for inventory, you got to pay employees, right? I understand how hard it can be. I feel for businesses in both the lower 9 and New Orleans East, I think what we need one of the most important things we need is exposure. We need to expose those businesses and give them the limelight they deserve, because they are fighting hard to stay in our community and give us a service that if they leave, we're going to again have to go to neighboring parishes, to Metairie and Slidell, to get those services. So, you know, they're doing great work in our community. 2, I believe that we have to work on the image of New Orleans East and the lower 9, because for too often we have gotten a rep for being the bad part of the city, the part nobody want to go to, and that's hurting people coming and spending dollars in our neighborhood. So we have to address the image, right? We have to change the narrative and let people know that we are open for business and we are ready to receive them, and that would draw more funding in our community, because you have more people spending money, and it also make people want to live in our neighborhood. And the more people we can get to live in our neighborhood, the more money there's there to support those neighborhood businesses. 3, I feel that the city of New Orleans can assist, right? I think that we can work on taxes. I feel like it should be in situations where we know a business is struggling, we are trying to keep that business in our community. Oftentimes you hear it, like when the state of Louisiana wanted to entice the movie industry into New Orleans, they gave them all kind of tax credits, right, to get them here. They gave them all kind of tax credits. We're gonna cut this, we're gonna cut that, just to get them here, right? I understand they want a business here. Why can't we do that for our local businesses? Why can't we help them in the same way that we worked hard to attract those large businesses, even with the Port of New Orleans, right? They're giving tax credits to Sunrise to get them in New Orleans. We need to do the same thing for local and small business owners to help them stay in business, to continue to provide those vital services for our neighborhood. If we can do it for one, what's good for one is good for all. So if we can do it for them, we can do it for small businesses. And they can't say it can't be done because they did it. Right. On a large scale, right? They're giving millions in tax credits. We are asking to give this business a $25,000 tax credit so they can get through the year, right? $25,000 tax credit for a small business, that will mean the world to them, right? Why can't we do that? Why can't we do that? And why can't we partner with them to help them with advertising? I feel like we could partner with small businesses to help them advertise and promote their businesses. We can create sessions on social media advertising. We can partner with iHeartRadio and say, hey, we the city of New Orleans want to partner with you because we need to get more exposure for our small businesses,
Right.
and we want to create a partnership where you guys can highlight the businesses in New Orleans East. I feel like stuff like that would mean the world to small businesses and help them thrive and move on to future earnings.
Right. Thank you.
Schools.
Oh, well, here today we with Willie Morgan, and I would just like to say thank you for joining us. And before we wrap up, is there any final thing you would like to just add or throw in there?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you guys so much for having me. As someone who has into politics for the first time, it oftentimes seems that politicians, you get the short end because you're not a politician.
Right.
They kind of favor those who have been elected to office before and who come from political families. So someone who is a grassroots candidate who is fighting because I see the struggles of my community daily. I see what my community is going through and want to make a change. It seems like sometimes it's hard to get a fair shake. So I appreciate this opportunity to display my platform, speak on my passion, and answer the tough questions so that voters can make the decision ultimately on October 11th. So I just want to humbly thank you guys for this opportunity. And to the voters out there, I hope that after you watch this video, you see that I'm passionate about our community. I already fight for our community daily, but I want to continue to fight in City Hall because that's where we need the biggest fighter right now. Because we are at a crossroad right now, and we cannot go another 20 years in the same condition we are in now. Something has got to change. So again, my name is Willie Morgan. I'm running for City Council. I'm number 54 on the ballot, and I hope to have your vote on October 11th.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, brother.